and welcome to another video of this Solidity Do-It-Yourself tutorials. In this video, we are going to implement the use case for banks, wherein we are going to create a smart contract with a bonus or with an amount, a balance, and then we will measure transactions that could include crediting or debiting from the smart contract. For use case that we are implementing, please look at the previous video where we discussed the use case that we are going to implement. So in the next step, we are going to go to Google and search for Remix Ethereum. The first link would be remixproject.org. And this is the website. Click on Remix IDE. It is going to open an IDE. Just click on accept. And you will be presented with this screen. Remix, as discussed in the previous video, remix.ethereum.org, the Remix IDE provides you a web environment, no installation needed, zero footprint environment to write your Solidity code. Now, when I go here, you would see default workspace. On the left-hand side, you have searched the file, you have compiler, and you have deploy and run transactions. So we are going to use all of these. I would highly recommend you to take a little bit of time and get yourself accustomed to this environment. To start with, I'm going to create a workspace and I'm going to call this workspace as Bank Smart Contract Solidity, just for any reference. You can give it any name, right? And click on OK. And you would see a list of things that came up. I'm going to get rid of all. So right click, delete. I don't want any of these. And I can actually delete the folder, I believe. Delete the scripts folder too. I don't want any of the files, and I'm going to start on a blank slate. Now you can also create a blank workspace, which is another option, but this is also a possibility. Now in here, I create a new file, and I'm going to call it as, this is the new file, and I'm going to call it as first Solidity. .sol. SOL is an extension for Solidity program. Now you can follow along with me and you would learn some interesting stuff. Let's get started. So the first thing what you're going to write is pragma solidity and just mention the function, the version. So I'm going to use 0.8.8 Solidity version, but you can use 9 or 10 or whatever you are comfortable with. Now I put a semicolon at the end of it that shows that you need to use this, and I'm going to make it a little bigger for all of us to understand it clearly, and I'm going to make a little adjustment. So pragma solidity shows that bring the version 0.8.8, and then I'm going to say this is a keyword contract. You see it turns blue. Contract. I'm going to write a contract first Solidity, and I'm going to close it in a bracket. This is effectively your first contract. So as discussed in the previous videos, a function, a set of instructions, code can be written on blockchain and saved as a contract. A contract also has an address, right? So this is effectively a contract, and because we are doing that bank use case, what we are going to do is I'm going to use UIT. So we are going to discuss data types in a few minutes or in the next video, but UN 256, and I'm going to say bank balance equals $50. Now, for every step, I have put semicolon, and This is your first contract. Very simple. All I'm doing is creating a first Solidity file with a contract, first Solidity, and bank balance. And then on the left hand side, you see this compiler. Say compile. You see it says 8.7.1. I'm going to change it to 8.8 because that is what I have decided to use in this series. Say compile. And you see that there is an error. The error is warning SPDX license identifier not provided. So Solidity expects an SPDX license identifier, and MIT is a very generic license, and you have list of licenses in the Solidity documentation, which I can share you in the as part of video description link below. So SPDX license identifier MIT, you're going to write and then go back, compile. It's going to compile without any errors. You see the tick mark over here, and then I'm ready to deploy. Now, because we are doing testing and we are still learning, we will deploy in Remix VM London or Remix VM Berlin, which provides you an environment for testing. It's a test environment where you don't have to really spend any dollars. When we are ready with our smart contract, which we have started, once we are ready to deploy in real Ethereum or Polygon or any other network, we will use injected provider. We will also use injected provider for testnet. Well, while I was creating the MetaMask, I showed you how to use the system, the network, right? So when you had this MetaMask, and in this MetaMask, you have those test networks. So while deploying it on Ethereum mainnet or test networks, we can use the injected provider. And then these are other types of network. We are going to discuss that at a later point in time. So for now, I got Remix VM London selected. And what this test network does is, or test instance does is, provides you multiple accounts with Ethers. So to understand how much it's roughly going to cost, it depends on the network. It depends on the number of transactions queued and the traffic of transactions and a lot of other parameters. But this gives you a fair understanding of how your contract is coming up. So that's why you have 100 Ether as in starting. You have gas limit as discussed. Gas limit is the charge, the value that you're going to spend on the network to run your transaction. And this is all in way. I selected the contract. Remember, the Sol file, the first solidity.sol has first Solidity as a contract as well. So if you look at it here, if you have multiple contracts, it's going to show up, as we will see in our later set of videos. For now, I'm going to deploy. As soon as you deploy, let's look at what's really happening here. So you see that this transaction was deployed. This was the transaction hash. This is from, so look at this, 05B3, 05B3, DC4. So DC4. So from this, the transaction was put in, and this was the cost, the gas fees, gas cost, and nothing. For now, there is nothing. So you see here that contract is deployed, and then you can interact with the contract. Now see here, there is nothing. It says balance, but I have this balance, bank balance. Please understand these are two different things. This is balance as 0 ETH in the contract, and this is my bank balance. So don't get confused by that. In fact, the bank balance is not appearing here at all. Why? Because we have not defined the variable bank balance as public. Look at here. This is green color. As soon as I say this, save it, and go back to compile, it compiles again. Come back, and you have to delete the earlier deployed contract. Now, please note that you're deleting it just from here, but actually you can not modify the state of the blockchain. So the state of the blockchain cannot be modified, as we discussed in the previous video. All I'm doing is, this is for testing purposes. I am removing my existing contract, which is not removed from the test Remix VM London contract, but I'm clicking on deploy. You see here that the contract is deployed. Now I am seeing a blue color button with bank balance. If I click on this button, it says it is UINT 256 with $50. Congratulations, you have deployed a very basic Solidity program contract, Solidity contract on a test environment. Not even your test nets or main nets, that will come later. But for now, I have used Remix VM London to deploy your transactions. Again, thank you for watching. In the next set of videos, we're going to talk about different types, data types, and we will take you to an entire Solidity journey. Again, thank you for being with us.